Hey everyone, and welcome to Third and Wine. I'm so excited to have you back for another episode. Obviously, we're talking about football. There's wine involved, and that's literally the basis of this. So I'm really pumped to be back for another episode. I have a great guest for you, as I've promised to deliver a week after week, episode after episode. So if you joined me on my last episode, I had one half of Talking Giants with me. I had Bobby Skinner on, and I had to complete this, little family here and bring on the second half of Talking Giants. And here with me today is Justin Penik. Justin, thank you so much for joining me. I said this last week to Bobby. The two of you have just been, so great to me for so many years. I've loved you guys since the beginning. And I know you tapped in so early with, Real Football Fans in New Jersey and now with Third and Wine. So, to start the episode, I just want to give you a huge shout out and thank you so much for the support over the years. But I'm pumped to have you on tonight's episode. So go ahead, introduce yourself, even though I'm sure my audience knows exactly who you are, but tell the world what you do and where can everyone find you? Just let them know.
No, Caitlin, no, thank you for having me on. I'm so excited that, you're embarking on the new journey with Third and Wine. I know it can be, it could be tough to kind of like move shows, and especially, moving forward without, Katie, but this is an awesome show. You got off of it right off the jump. And I'm really pumped and thrilled to be talking with you. And the best part about, like, now that we've both been doing this for a couple years now, it's not just, oh, I'm going on a show. It's like, oh no, we've like met each other in person.
We're talking to friends.
I'm talking with a friend, and I'm catching up with our friend, and we're simply using the excuse of, oh, let's just go on a podcast together to catch up as friends. So, so I love it. So no, I'm Justin Penik. Half of Talking Giants over at John Boy Media. We do some stuff for JM Football too that we're trying to grow as time goes on. Really pumped for this football season. Really pumped for this Giants season, and obviously, we're gonna chat today all about it.
Absolutely. So yes, obviously, thank you so much for popping on with me. So two quick things before we get into it. So something that was funny that Bobby pointed out in the last episode was the t-shirt that I'm wearing. So I totally screwed up and did not wear it last time, but it is our Danny Dimes shirt. And, this was at a point where he was saying you guys sold like a couple of these and you were so happy. And if that happened today, you would be so mad. You only sold a couple, but me and Katie were like two of your first purchases because we love the t-shirt. So I knew I had to wear it tonight to obviously represent you guys. I must obviously tell my audience, there is an updated version because this one does say, "In Gettleman we trust." There is an updated Danny Dimes shirt. So please go to, Talking Giants anywhere and get the updated version. I need to buy the updated version.
And that's like a collector's item. It's a collector's item because not only does it say in Gettleman we trust, but it has like his face on it. And back then, we were small enough that
you can get away with it.
That you can get away with that kind of stuff. Yeah. But now, I'll tell you a little behind the scenes story before we kind of fully get kicked off. So we made Pressure Breaks Pipes shirts this year with Wink Martindale's face on it. Now, I
love that.
It was a face where it was like a drawing of it. Like our design team kills it, does a great job where we could put somebody's face on stuff or, somebody's figure without getting in kind of like copyright trouble. So we got an email from Dion Dargan, who's like one of the heads of like PR over at the Giants.
Right.
And we're like, can we talk to somebody? And we're like, shit. Like what did we do? Like he's usually, and he didn't even say what. So eventually, higher ups at John Boy Media talks with Dion Dargan. It turns out that Wink Martindale saw the shirts and he wanted some.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. So that was this past season. So we're thinking, oh my, and we're literally telling the John Boy meeting where people don't take shit from them. They can't do anything. Like we're literally freaking out. And lo and behold, it was Wink Martindale wanted some of those shirts. So
oh my goodness.
yeah.
I would just retire after that. Like, you guys have set the bar so high. You've done so many amazing things that I've seen. Like, I know last episode we were talking about, the van with you guys and Andrew Thomas. Like, there's so many things. Now hearing that story, I would be like, all right, I'm hanging it up here. Wink Martindale wanted one of my t-shirts. That's amazing. I am so happy you shared that with us. So and now I'm gonna have to go and buy that t-shirt now. There's so many things on my list. I've got a wish list before the 2023 season starts because I want to be decked out. I think I've said this on the previous podcast and now this one. Like, when it comes to Giants jerseys, for me, I'm a little unfortunately jinxed in many areas. I was fortunate enough this season to have Landon Collins come back because he is one of my jerseys, but that doesn't happen all the time. So I'm always looking for merch like this that I can wear on Sundays around the house, that I can show up to games in and kind of make look real nice and cool. But so I will be definitely looking at that for sure. Something else that came out of my conversation with Bobby, and I would love, and I hope you listened and heard it, because we talked about the van with Andrew Thomas and that you initially did not like that idea and you thought it was stupid. I knew I said it on the podcast and I was totally bringing this up when I spoke to you.
It was a debate. Like, it was like, we're not freaking doing this. Cause I also was thinking just from a, so here's, Bobby's and I's relationship and the dichotomy. So I also edit and I produce Talkin' Giants too, along with, co-hosting and things like that. So I also have to think of, well, what's the feasibility of this? Like, is it going to look good? Is it going to sound good? Is it a product that we could put out there that people are going to be able to digest? And at the time, I'm like, there is no way that we're going to be putting a camera with inside a stand with a roadcast. Like, there is no way that we're going to be able to fit all of this. And with Bobby Skinner he is a larger human being than Andrew Thomas.
Like a bigger bus. Yeah.
So I was really not on it, but then, finally, after, I think it might have been like an hour or 2 hours of texting or talking back and forth with Bobby, I'm like, all right, we'll do this. And clearly you're not going to back down from it. And lo and behold, it's not only led to, okay, Andrew Thomas was interviewed there. Our training camp series is we bring all of the beat reporters on inside the van. My rule was last year is that for audio purposes, we needed the AC to be off. I think I may make an exception this year. And I'll leave the AC on so we're not just sweating next to Jordan Ronan. But
no.
But yeah, it's turned into basically our summer van series, interview series. So.
And I heard the van might make a trip out to one of the away games. So if you guys do that, I'm happy to join on board there. But to escape the heat, you should guys get those things that wrap around your neck now. The cooling fans, they look like headphones and you just wrap it around your neck and it's a fan.
LSU also has air-conditioned helmets.
Well, I mean, if you want to wear a helmet on a 90-degree day,
wear a helmet in the van.
At this point, there's so much technology. You guys can totally get away with it. But I knew I had to bring that up. Absolutely love the banter there. And I love that, the behind the scenes as well, because I think obviously people see your produced product and they think it's amazing. They think it's incredible.
Oh,
but
that just happened. No, it didn't happen.
No, it didn't. It was a 2-hour text argument behind the scenes. So I think that's amazing. All right. So on every episode, I do like to, this will obviously kick up a little bit hotter once the season's here, but just some things that are going on around the NFL. And I just have honestly 3 little things, but you see the Lions new helmets, their alternative helmet. It's a little bit of a point back to their legacy, but it's still brand spanking new. From a Lions fan, I did ask one of my connections. He loved it. What are you thinking about it?
What is the significance of the 2 lines?
So Adam Schefter had tweeted out the helmet, but then what I really enjoy what NFL teams do when they put out legacy or alternative things, their design team actually comes in and tells you why they made decisions. I'm a geek. I'm a marketer, so I geek out at that stuff. So they did actually map out the reasoning behind each point. So I don't know that specifically, but under Adam Schefter's original tweet, there is the detail of why we chose this, why we chose that. So it's definitely out there.
Yeah, if I find out the reasoning for it, then I'll be behind it. I love like the sky blue, like even like the blue of this
Oh,
border. Like the
yeah.
sky blue is
Mhm.
my favorite color, and the fact that they like leaned into it with the helmet, I'm
I
like
love
that's
it.
why I'm a fan of it.
Yeah, I like it too. And the reasoning why I like it as well is the point back to legacy. I think when
Yes.
teams kind of throw out alternatives and there's really no story behind it, like obviously the Giants going back to like our legacy uniforms this year was
Oh yeah,
just,
people love it. They want that the full time.
it
Yeah.
was the greatest thing since sliced bread. Everyone was like, "No, these aren't alternatives. These are please give them to me every single game." Like you had just said, I bought two right away. I literally bought two legacy jerseys, and I don't buy jerseys. We already discussed that, and I couldn't help myself. I had to. So I think when a team really dives deep into their roots and brings back some stuff, but modernizes it a little bit, I love it. But when it's just kind of like a random alternate, I'm not a huge fan of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So definitely cool to see. So spoke about this actually with, Bobby as well. So because it was hot like 2 weeks ago with the whole gambling situation
Mm.
that's going on with the NFL. So today they put out 6 strict rules with the gambling policy. Do not bet on the NFL, do not gamble in the facility or when you're traveling for road games at the hotel, or maybe if you're staying at, I don't know, a family's house, anything like that. Don't have someone bet for you. No sharing of insider information. Do not enter a sports book during the season, and don't play daily fantasy football. So I don't know what daily fantasy football means. I mean, if that's just fantasy football, just don't play fantasy football. But the question here, Justin, is that do you think this should be a little bit more relaxed for NFL players? Do you think they should be able to gamble like larger from a sports perspective, or specifically on the NFL?
Oh well, yeah. I definitely think they shouldn't be able to gamble on the NFL,
It's
but
too
like
close
sport,
for home. Yeah.
but sport. I mean, just larger with sports. Yeah. So does the parameters go to like just outside sports? They can't gamble at all, like on any sports.
So, I mean, it's the gambling in the facility. I think that's what you're not allowed to gamble
Okay.
on sports in. So,
And
if
again, I
you're
think that's fine.
strictly within well, I think about work. So, like
Yeah.
my company, for example, blocks sports gambling
Yeah.
websites. I'm not physically allowed to gamble at work. Makes complete
Yeah.
and total sense. But there are people that definitely raise that. Like, what if they're just there for, I don't know, to hang out or something? They should, but I don't know. It's just such an open like argument and discussion across so many levels, I
hmm
feel.
Yeah. And I think the only thing, because daily fantasy is different from season long fantasy, and that's the question that I was asking some of my coworkers yesterday. Like does daily like are they putting in under the umbrella of like all fantasy football with daily fantasy? Because technically with even
Right.
season long fantasy football, you can play it daily because you're making
You
substitutions.
are,
And I
exactly.
know a lot of the players will like they'll have their own fantasy teams. So then what does that I mean, how many of the percentages of fantasy leagues are paid? Like
Right.
all of them that I'm in are paid. So I can imagine if there are players that have paid fantasy season long fantasy leagues, could they not do that? So it's the NFL's clearly really putting a line in the sand, which
Right.
I already thought the line was in the sand, but I guess now they're making it clearer that man, if there's
Right.
if there's anything that gets even close to sports betting under the NFL label and you are an NFL player, they're just not gonna allow it. They're
Yeah.
not gonna allow it.
Yeah. I just think like after Calvin Ridley, you kind of thought people would kind of get the gist of it. Like we shouldn't be doing it. But what we've uncovered over the last 6 months or so is that players are still doing things that aren't allowed.
Well,
But
and I guarantee this
yeah.
is. I think maybe Calvin really maybe uncovered something. I think players do it all the time. Like,
Oh, of course. But I'm just saying now too, like, so the NFL had to come out with 6 things today. Like, is it kind of their problem as well that they haven't detailed this out? Like, it's at the end of the day, you really need to. I
yeah,
mean, I've always thought the NFL just has like a really awful like conduct like policy and like conduct
yeah.
board. They don't know what they're doing half the time. Someone gets in
On the
trouble.
field, NFL is very different from off the field NFL.
Yeah, anything
Extremely different.
happens, they're just like, "Shit, what do we do about this situation?" And it's anywhere from sports gambling to murdering your wife. It's like they don't know what the fuck to do, and
Yeah,
that's just like it's very questionable. Their conduct board is not a good board. I've said that for I think 10 years at this
yeah, for
point. So,
sure.
then finally, I mean, this just kind of it's popping up in my feed. I actually just added it onto the outline right before. What are your hot take on the Kadarius Tony video that we saw rolling around?
I have this thing as like a Giants fan where if you're not on the Giants anymore,
You're
you kind of
sad.
like don't exist.
You're butthurt though if you're not
You
on the
know,
Giants anymore.
I cheered my little heart. I had the great opportunity of speaking of sports betting, DraftKings. Use promo code WORLD when you sign up. Uh, but
You better give
DraftKings
me half of that. I'm just kidding.
DraftKings sent Joe's McFly and I to the Super Bowl, and that was like an
Yes.
awesome experience. So I cheered my little heart out for Kadarius Toney. It
Right.
was like a perfect storm of, hey, Tony was a Giant. We kind of liked him. We knew, the trade was needed and necessary and stuff like that. Plus, he was playing the Eagles. So,
Of course.
you know, if Tony wasn't who he was with the Giants, knowing that there was questions literally since day one of
Right.
his dedication to the game of football, his dedication to the Giants, his dedication to actually staying out on the football field. If Tony, and also just not playing, like you can not really care about football and you can not really know the playbook, but you can still be healthy and you can still go out there and be a stud for your team. He
Mhm.
wasn't even that. So knowing just how Tony's tenure with the Giants went, and then the compensation of
Right.
a top 100 pick that eventually turned into Darren Waller, the compensation that plus Trey Hawkins too. Love me some
Yeah.
Trey Hawkins out of Old Dominion. The compensation knowing that we got back for Kadarius Toney, a guy who was never out on the field for us. I'm like, I have no reaction to seeing that video.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, dude, like we know you're a little wild. We know that this is what you're like, and the more that we see you kind of act out, the more that we know that you're not the right
Guy.
you're not the right player for New York.
Yeah. I agree. Yeah, I just think the frustrating thing, like every time he's been mentioned lately, it's always about the Giants. Like, dude, like as active as you are on social media, like open your eyes. Like we were all rooting for you. No one ever, we were dying for you to get on the field. When you made explosive plays, we were like, that's why we got this guy. That's why we did what we did to get him. So it's just like there was never, even when I was questioning why he was hurt, why he wasn't out there, everyone was like, it's fine. We're going to wait and he's going to be great. Like, I don't understand like where, and I think it's honestly, when people leave the Giants, I just made the comment earlier, like, I think they're butthurt, to be honest. We've seen some, and maybe it's your relationship with management, maybe it's your relationship with whatever, but I think people leave and they just turn against us. And it's at the end of the day, no one was really against you. So,
but it's also the frustrating thing is with the media, because also then the media will be
like,
oh, well, look at the Giants missed out on a Super Bowl winning wide receiver. Let's realistically look at how many games Kadarius Toney played with the Chiefs.
For us.
And I watched Tony like on the side. I watched Tony on the majority on the sideline during the Super Bowl. Besides, I will say, a sick whip route that really anybody, not anybody could run, but Kadarius Toney made it look really cool and really good. But that's a goal line package where literally the coach on the sideline can whisper into your ear, you're going to run this route. Okay, go out on the field. And then he had a sick punt return. But outside of that, like, he's not involved in the Chiefs offense. And I think part of the reason why he's not involved in the Chiefs offense is because, there's no fully confirmation on whether he knows exactly what to do, where to be, and where to go. Which I think was an issue for him in New York. It was an issue for him in New York with two different coaching staffs. And we'll see if it continues to be an issue for him now that he has like a full summer to do stuff. But I mean, that's the thing where, the media will be like, well, the Giants missed out on this. Well, look at actually what Kadarius Toney is doing outside of the 1 to 2 highlight plays he'll give you every 2-3 weeks.
He wasn't taking us to a Super Bowl, so what did we miss out on?
No, and he didn't take the Chiefs to the Super Bowl either. So
no. All right, so let's move into some talk about, the Giants. Obviously, we talk about Talkin' Giants. I actually did get a question in on Twitter. Someone is curious, are you guys doing a 24-hour live stream of Talkin' Giants? And when is it?
That we don't know when. That's another one of those things that Bobby's.
I didn't know about this. I'm excited.
Bobby's like, we got to do it. We got to do it. We should do it. We should do it. And I'm like, should we? Apparently, there was one day where I was like, yeah, let's do it. And I want to know what I was on that day. I want to know what mood I was in. What did I have for dinner? Did I get a great night's sleep the night beforehand?
Maybe.
Like, how did I bowl? I must have bowled like a 250 or something.
Love it.
I must have been in a great mood to say, oh yeah, we should do, because Bobby was like, you definitely said that we should do it. I think a fair goal, we're already at the end of June. I think a fair goal is sometime during the the week before camp
Okay.
starts, I think is like a goal for us to, if we are going to do it, we're going to do it then. Or we should get kooky and do it while Bobby's up here for training camp and just do it all in the live stream lounge. That is also an idea. And then we can
Yeah.
have like all of the John Boy Media people. We can invite people to the office. And I think that would almost be more fun rather than us sitting like at our desk remotely for 24 hours.
Yeah, don't do that.
Don't do that.
I'm going to give you my best advice right now. Don't do that. See, you have good ideas, though, to counter Bobby with. So counter him with that idea.
I just thought of this idea. So I think I'm going to tell him that.
All right. So everyone listening right now, write that down for Justin. Send it to him so he knows.
And if I forget, then tell me that I forgot.
All right. Everyone watch on demand. Clip this. Let him know. All right. So we saw yesterday that Alec Ogletree is retiring after 9 seasons. Yeah. So what do you remember him about his time on the Giants? I mean, personally, I remember him coming in and making an impact right away from a leadership standpoint. He was captain right away. And I was like, wow, like this is something, we had a rough couple seasons. Like we needed like this. Obviously his time wasn't terribly long. I hated seeing him go, but you're looking at a guy, he was on what, 4 or 5 different teams? You got the Rams, the Giants, the Patriots.
I know he was with the Rams before the Giants, and then he was with the Jets for a little bit too.
Maybe that might be the 4
teams? The Jets after the Giants. But I mean, Alec Ogletree. I didn't love him.
Okay.
And I had this is actually one of my best takes, like in my early infancy Giants, like covering the Giants days. 2018, he had a lot of interceptions.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where a lot of fans kind of like got behind. So yeah, this is, hey, he's a playmaker, did some good stuff. And then I'm like, I don't think he misses a lot of tackles. He had a very high missed tackle. He made a lot of tackles, but he also missed like a tremendously high number of tackles. And then 2019 comes, and because there's no linebacker depth on the Giants, I remember Ryan Conley was there for a few weeks, but then he gets hurt and suffers a season-long injury. So then that's been an issue for the Giants. It's still an issue for the Giants today, is their linebacker depth.
Yeah.
Outside of Blake Martinez and Tay Crowder for 1 year, they've had really bad linebacker depth. So he eventually gets benched in 2019. It was that Washington game, the Andrew Thomas / Chase Young Bowl, that he actually kind of gets like benched in that game. And I was kind of proud of myself that I didn't fully love Alec Ogletree after his 2018 season, because his 2019 was not very good. So I hate to be poo-pooing on Alec Ogletree, but that's how I remember him as a Giant, unfortunately.
Well, no, I mean, it's fair. It makes total sense. And yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Like, when it's interesting when these players that have been with us for a certain amount of time, a couple years later, they do end up retiring. You're like, oh yeah, like they played for the Giants. Like what? So, like that just stood out to me, like him just making an immediate impact from a leadership standpoint.
No, he definitely did. I mean,
we needed leadership at that time
after 2017 and that whole catastrophe.
Many leaders.
We made that trade, that off season. And that was one of Gettleman's like moves that people like really like, they overpaid for Solder. People were kind of iffy on that. Obviously drafting Saquon at 2 was a controversial topic at the time, but a lot of people like that. But the one move that everybody was like, hell yeah, was trading for a really good, what we thought, linebacker at the time from it was St. Louis at the time, even before they were Los Angeles.
I know that's a key factor as well. They were not Los Angeles.
Yeah. So that was one of Dave Gettleman's last unanimous, really good decision moves that even turned out to not be that great.
Not that great of a decision. Yeah,
that's Dave Gettleman in summary.
That could be a whole episode within itself. But speaking of brighter times, we are moving into the 2023 season, which, we're coming off a really great season, moving into brighter, better things. What are you doing, for yourself with Talkin' Giants? What are you guys doing to prep for the 2023 season?
Well, even just this, I'm going to give you like a player coach answer for a second.
Okay.
As a fan, I'm looking forward to week 1 so much. Like last year, I knew that I was going to go to Tennessee, and I went to Tennessee and I booked that trip, and I was so excited for that trip. because I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm going to watch the Giants. It's going to be new Joe Shane, Brian Dable,
Right.
finally Daniel Jones. We feel like has like competent coaching and good coaching. So I was like, week one, knowing also the team that we were playing, that hey, they're good, they're like a fringe good, average team. If we can start off the season with a win, that would just set the energy and the tone for the season.
And it did.
Lo and behold, it did, especially in the way that we won too, where
Yeah.
it was the first Giants game, and I can't tell you how long, where the Giants played a bad game, but they somehow won. And I feel
Yeah.
like sometimes good teams do that, where good teams will not play perfect football, but they'll find a way to win at the
They're
end. And
going to
that's
win.
exactly what they
Yeah.
did. And especially with being aggressive and going for two and getting a little good luck. And I won't ever complain about getting good luck, since we've been on the receiving end of so many, bad luck, good luck plays for like other teams, of like them kicking like 65, 63-yard field goals.
Yeah, I don't
And
feel
crap
bad
like
for the
that.
Titans at all. We
So,
deserved that. But like, quick shout out, people need to go to your Twitter. Obviously, it's at Justin Penig. Your reaction is pinned to the
yeah.
and it is just, it is pure gold, honestly, your reaction, because I had the same one. At first, your face is just so monotone. You're like, well, fuck. Like, I was literally so I'm in like a small condo. I was standing up and they were doing well. So I'm in my head, you cannot sit down for the rest of the game. Yeah. And I ended up backing myself like into a corner of my house, and they were still doing well. So I was in the corner for like 5 minutes, honestly, and I was just standing there. And it's one of those things. I love this because you'll never forget it. The decision was made to go for two, and I just said, "What the fuck?" out loud. Like I had no trust. I know that sounds so bad, like so bad, but then for it to happen, like I almost like leaped over my couch and was like, "Yes," and just melted into the ground of pure happiness. But your reaction is just incredible. And so again, go to Justin's Twitter, and it's the pinned tweet, and it's just, I think you had every reaction that all of us had that day, but you were there in person. So I don't know how. I would have just been like sweating profusely, like not even knowing how to control myself.
It really was awesome. But I mean, looking forward to this year, like again, the coach player cliche answer is, I'm just so ready for week one.
Yeah.
I'm so ready for week one, because again, week one, the 2023 Giants have an opportunity to set the tone for the season, where the big thing last year was, okay, great. You won some games. We went, what was it? 5-0 against the AFC. You beat the AFC South, which is kind of mid. And then you had a great win against the Ravens, so you went 5-0 in the AFC, but you didn't take care of business at all in your division. Only winning one game and tying another one, both against the team that finished in fourth place. So they have an opportunity against Dallas, a team with the new play caller, where they could win and they could, again, put a stamp on what this season could be. Now, you lose week one, that doesn't mean the end of the season, of course, but it could. How awesome will it be to come on, like, again, like a podcast, or, go into work on Monday or do whatever, and then the Giants are 1-0 and they beat the Cowboys on Sunday Night Football. I mean, that would be a staple signature win with the season barely even beginning. So
I know.
I'm really looking forward to week one, and it's the same mentality that I took last year. If I booked that trip, I'm going to go to Nashville. We're going to win. There was like, I am not going to go to Nashville, Tennessee to lose. I am not going to go to Sunday Night Football versus the Cowboys at home, and I'm not going to lose. And it's the same mentality, and it's the same thing this year. So that's as a fan. But for tailgates, for kind of like talking Giants wise, it's business as usual with PPPs and our camp coverage and live streams and things like that. But what I want to do differently this year is I'm in talks with a few different like kind of food providers, and every week I want to have like, the goal is every week I want to have like a full tailgate experience. With food, you can maybe purchase some tickets. I want it to be like the cheapest tailgate. There's some tailgates that charge like $100 to like get in and like have food.
I was gonna say, I've never been to one of those.
Yeah, but I mean, I like, my goal is to be the cheapest Giants tailgate. For not only people that kind of know us, but even people that maybe don't know us, and also people that maybe, they want to come and tailgate, but they also don't want to pay $100, maybe just as much. If, I'm not going to say Giants tickets are $100, but maybe half of what they're paying for a ticket just
Of
to
course.
tailgate.
Yeah.
So, and then they can then they can know, like, hey, this is Talking Giants, this is
Yeah.
Justin Penik, and this is like the entire community of people that we got here. They can come and you can hang out with and you can talk Giants with. So my goal is this year to really upgrade our tailgating experience. I want each week to have like a theme. Last year we tried to do a blackout where we have our black Talking Giants tailgate crew shirts. The game that I decided to do the blackout on, it turns out that the Giants had other plans, and that was the whiteout game. So I scrapped it. I was like, well, we can't do this now.
I don't know why we did a whiteout. That was hard. I struggled so hard for
Especially
that
against the
game.
Cowboys, where it's like,
I
that's like,
know.
wouldn't we blend in with like their fans' jerseys?
We did. There
Um,
was so many people, many Cowboys fans wearing white jerseys. I wore
and,
a
it, and
white
my
sweatshirt,
blackout idea was
honestly.
great. My blackout idea was great
Yeah.
because it would have been in direct contrast to their white
Right.
jerseys and whatever they were.
Yeah.
So, that's like a goal that I have. I want to do a Madden tournament
That's fun.
amongst like everybody, and I want to do like backyard games, like like have like a certain week of like cornhole, flip cup. So each individual week, maybe we'll do like a Halloween theme
Oh,
where
sign
one
me
week
up.
I'll like we'll like it'll be far enough into the season where hopefully we'll have some wins. So then we'll like customize like gravestones
I love
and
that.
have like week 1 Cowboys the
Yeah.
score, and then maybe we can even do some fun stuff like Tom Brady, Bill Belichick, Patriots, 2007,
Love that.
2011, and stuff like that. So I really want to upgrade the tail, not just providing with food, like that's part of it, but like really upgrade the lifestyle aspect of what we do at Talking Giants. That's like, so there's like a
Yeah,
personal goal of like win week 1,
of course.
and then the business goal of like, hey, let's do more lifestyle
Yeah.
stuff.
I love it, and I'm so happy that you have so much behind like the strategy, like week after week, and like what you want to go into for 2023. I must say that the tailgates that you guys already put on are just so welcoming and so warming. I love stopping by every time I can. I know I'm not there for the entire time with you guys, but I do love swinging by, seeing you, seeing all of our other friends that we've developed over the past year. But even just sitting back sometimes, Justin, and watching you interact with so many different people, it's just really nice to see because you have built such a really nice community for Giants fans. And it just, again, so you've done a really good job so far. So it's great to hear, what you have in store for this season.
No,
So
thank you. Thank you.
yeah,
Absolutely.
I will be there. So especially that Halloween one. I love Halloween. So I will be there for sure. So let's talk about some current things going on with the New York Giants. I've got 3 separate topics for you here. The first one, obviously, it's the hottest one going on in New York right now. Saquon Barkley. What are your thoughts? Where are we headed? What's going to happen?
Saquon Barkley. What I'll get in, I want to get into what I want to happen.
Okay, that's fine.
It's tough business wise, but I want the Giants to play him on the tag. Like,
Yeah.
and I think he will eventually sign it.
Yeah.
If the Giants want to go that route and they don't want to offer an extension, or even if the extension that the Giants are offering, Saquon Barkley doesn't want to do, I think it's best for the Giants. And also part of me thinks it's not super unfair to Saquon Barkley. It is unfair, but
I don't
it's
know.
not super unfair. And yeah, definitely feel free to like disagree with me. But
No, I don't think it's unfair.
okay,
I'm
yeah.
agreeing with you.
Because I mean, $10 million guaranteed will still put him up as a top paid running back. It's not the top paid running back. It's not. I don't even know if it would be top 3, but just knowing his history.
Yep.
And this is where it's tough business wise, and I don't want to sound like a jerk. Knowing his history, knowing the history of the running backs, and then also he's coming off a season where he touched the ball so much, and they relied on him. The Giants needed Saquon Barkley, and there were certain points of last year where they relied on him way too much, where they should have been throwing the ball more on early downs and putting the offense in Daniel Jones's hands. And eventually, towards the latter part of the season, they did, and you saw the efficiency against the Colts. You saw it against the Vikings and stuff like that. But I think he should play on the tag, and it should be a 1 year. You get your $10 million guaranteed, regardless of whether you play 1 game or you play in 17 games. And if he plays well enough this year, then you can sign the tag again, and he gets $12 million. And that is, again, 2 years of $22 million that are fully guaranteed. It's not 3 years. I think he's looking for. It's not 3 years of guaranteed money, but just the nature of the running back position and the nature of kind of where the NFL is and knowing where this Giants team wants to go. They just paid Daniel Jones a lot of money. And I guarantee they didn't pay Daniel Jones a lot of money for Saquon Barkley to touch the ball as much as he did last year. They're paying Daniel Jones, around $40 million per year. The expectation is that this Giants team is going to start to throw the ball more and be a more balanced team, not a pass first team, but just a more balanced team. And Saquon Barkley getting, 3-4 years of guaranteed money and knowing that the best play may not necessarily be fully in front of him. It's part of that conversation. The franchise tag, I think, is a smart thing to do as a football team and as a franchise. It's still giving Saquon Barkley the opportunity to earn something while also getting paid somewhat fairly.
Yeah, so I think what people kind of not see fully is that, he played a really good season. So you talked about earning it. Daniel Jones took how many seasons to finally get to where he is today? So I think he earned his contract. Saquon Barkley has been great for us. He had, a lot of downs though with injuries and with certain things. And last year he played his ass off. So you saying that he needs to earn it is not far-fetched at all. He technically needs to. So just because he's been around a little bit longer than Daniel Jones does not really account for anything. So I think you're right with him playing on the tag. And I was totally going to think of something else I had in my mind. I'm blanking on it right now, but
even
I
think
agree
about
with
this
you.
too. You mentioned some injuries, and when the Giants when the team was worse last year, it's when Saquon Barkley was not performing well, and that's part of it. Like the line was still pretty much the same, the scheme was still pretty much the same.
Right.
It was Barkley's kind of performance that started to kind of dwindle down, and that did coincide with, even though he didn't miss any games, it did coincide with there was kind of like this shoulder injury that he was struggling with towards the middle part of the year.
Yeah.
And Saquon Barkley has not, and think back to even 2019 too, where he kind of sprained his ankle in that Bucs game, that first Daniel Jones start.
Yeah.
He missed a couple weeks. He came back and he was not himself until the final part of that 2019 season. And then look at this past year. Suffered that injury. Great, you didn't miss any games, but the performance really suffered.
Yeah.
So the Saquon Barkley does not deal with injuries well. So even if he's playing, if he's and this is so tough. It's not really fully fair to him. It's just where the NFL is right now with running backs. The shelf life is really short. And
look at Dalvin Cook. He's 26 years old, 27 years old. And someone keeps referring to him on his the latter half of his career. And I'm like
27 years old.
Excuse me. I'm get my walker ready.
I'm 25.
Oh my God. I forget you're so much younger than me. But I'm just holy shit, this guy's 27 and they're near the end of his career. I'm done then. I'm out of here.
Yeah. Look at Zeke too. Ezekiel Elliott's another example of how fast the fall off really can be.
It does.
And
their value is just not there. And it's not their true value as a player. It's how the NFL deems running back. It's a passing game. They want these hot, cool passes down the field. They want Justin Jefferson multiplied by billions. That's what they want. They want Patrick Mahomes throwing weird ass shit. They want him all over the place. That's what the NFL is triggered towards. So they are going to pay those people the top dollar. They're not, it's running backs, unfortunately, but then we see that teams get screwed when they don't have a solid running back. So I don't know where the answer lies.
Well, I think I've always had the philosophy, and I finally said this line this past year. I think NFL teams should build their offense off of a running game and not the running back.
Okay,
and that's where the philosophical decision of even just taking Saquon Barkley second overall in 2018, that's where that lies, because Dave Gettleman thought that the running back would fix the running game without actually, recognizing that you need the offensive line to have the efficient running game to begin with. And Saquon Barkley finally got that offensive line, this past year, and you saw how well he was able to do. And you saw how, at times he was really efficient, and at times he depended on the volume, which is fine. If you're winning the game, you're going to be getting a lot of carries naturally. My course and my path to victory for the Giants this year it's very different than what they did last year. I want the Giants running game to be based on efficiency, not necessarily volume, where I want early in the game. And Mike Kafka has talked a lot about this during the spring too, about getting off to faster starts. That's been like a big self-evaluation, self-teaching of the coaching staff this past summer when looking back at all their games. The offense did not get off to a fast start. Think of how many second half comebacks, double-digit second half comebacks that they needed to do. So I want this Giants offense throwing on early downs, being efficient on early downs, getting some explosive plays, putting points up on the board in a hurry, kind of maybe to start games. And then in the second half, when you have that 7-point lead, 10-point lead, dare I say maybe even a little bit more. This isn't going to happen every game, but the philosophy is you should want to get out to that lead. So then that's where Saquon Barkley can come in. You can ground and pound Saquon Barkley. The offensive line could start leading on people. I really do believe in that kind of stuff. So that's kind of like the approach that I want this year. You know?
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. All right, moving to just some other couple of quick things. So Jalen Hyatt, obviously one of our nice little draft picks. I know him because he lit up Alabama this season. So I'm so happy that he's joining the New York Giants. No, in all seriousness, I am. It was a great pick.
Happy he's not on Tennessee anymore.
I am very happy that I don't need to deal with that. Let's light up some other people. Let's light up the Eagles and the Cowboys. So there's clearly some negative talk on his kind of attitude, how he presents himself, his play. But then we're also seeing, some talk, he's taking some reps with, the third string people. So just kind of like your thoughts behind that. So I must just say real quick, though, no shit, he's taking reps with third string. We literally just drafted him. So like everything out there that's like, oh my God, what is this? Like, I mean, come on, like let's pump it there. But yeah, so I mean, everything else though, kind of what I'm hearing is it doesn't really throw me off because I don't really know if it's true, but kind of what are your thoughts like on it? Because I feel like you definitely see like within like your field of work and everything that you do, like you're constantly looking at like what the media says, you're seeing everything through Twitter. Like, so something like this is always so intriguing to me to like find out like what you're feeling about it.
Yeah. And I mean, I know in particular, like where the conversation started with Hyatt is that NFL Rookie Watch page that, they're, that's a page that looks for engagement, and they'll post, certain stories or, I haven't seen any of our beat reporters really indicate that Hyatt seems off or, Hyatt's running with the third teams and I'm concerned with that. I haven't seen any of our beat reporters do it, but I mean, so anyway, like that's a page that is looking for interaction, especially this time of the year where, okay, the draft is over. What is NFL Rookie Watch really how are they going to instigate people? Well, this is how.
Yeah.
I trust as of right now, I really trust Brian Dable and Joe Shane. The fact that, when they say smart, tough, dependable, I believe it because in all of the moves that they have made so far have really indicated guys that are smart, tough, and dependable, and that they are dedicated to their craft and dedicated to like working hard. So I'm not questioning that right now with Jalen Hyatt. In terms of like the third string stuff, I'm not worried about it because, even just think back to Tennessee's offense, and Tennessee's offense was like a very fake offense, and you hear that clip that went around constantly with like the Cowboys wide receiver coach. It's like, well, I can run routes, and I love that Jalen Hyatt has that swagger to him, and like, hey, you think that you can run routes, you can run routes, we're going to see it at the NFL level, but that is like a huge question with Jalen Hyatt because Tennessee's offense didn't make him run routes. So how is he going to be able to handle the full route tree, and what is he going to look like? Are his routes crisp and stuff like that? So him starting with the third team, I'm okay with that, especially during the spring. Like we are in the spring, and this is like an install period. They're not really like fully competing. Camp is going to be a time where they start to compete. So I would like to see Hyatt, maybe get up there with the second team, or in certain packages, get up there with the first team. Like how fun would a package would be? You want to talk about like NASCAR on defense? Remember the NASCAR package that we had on the defense side of the ball for those Super Bowl teams? Well, let's get a package of like Darren Waller, Darius Slayton, Paris Campbell, and Jalen Hyatt. Like that is the ultimate NASCAR package on offense of like just speed. So there are certain situations and packages where I would like to see Hyatt work his way up to the first team in camp. But right now, Hyatt is like a little bit of a project player, and that's fine. We drafted him in the third round. If we drafted Hyatt in the first round as like this pseudo project player, I'd be feeling a little bit more anxious. But the fact that we drafted him in the third round, Like, I'm cool. Take your time.
Yeah.
And it's a good problem to have because the Giants wide receiver room, even though it doesn't have a number one alpha wide receiver, they have a lot of guys kind of like on the outside and in the slot that, yeah, Jalen Hyatt's taking 13 reps because that's where he is on the depth chart right now.
Yeah.
Isaiah Hodgins, starter last year, knows the playbook. Darius Slayton, starter last year, knows the playbook. There are even like guy like a Colin Johnson coming off an injury, but knows the playbook. So Hyatt's being brought up to speed right now versus all these other guys that are on the team, whether they're coming off of injury or whether they were starting last year. They already know the playbook. They're up to speed. They know what's going on. Even a guy like Paris Campbell, you're a veteran. You've been through the run of the mill.
Yep.
You've been on some NFL teams with some different coaching staffs. You know kind of like what's going on. Jalen Hyatt's a rookie, and you're just kind of getting up to speed. So we'll see what happens with him during camp, and I'm really excited to see what happens with him.
Yeah, you do realize I asked you that question to bring people down to earth. So thank you. Thank you for pulling people back from where they were trying to go with that. Really, honestly, great response there. So last one. So clearly we've seen Daniel Bellinger has showed up to OTAs looking.
He showed up.
extra, jacked than we've seen before. A little pale, which is funny because I love that Brian Daboll called him out for being super pale. That cracked me up. It was on their social media like 2 days ago. He literally was like, "You gotta darken up those legs, buddies." I absolutely love that. But with that being said, there's obviously conversations between him, Darren Waller, everything. I'm really not trying to put them up against each other in this conversation. I strictly just want to ask you, well, how do you feel like that relationship is going to be for us this year?
I think relationship-wise, I think Waller's going to push Bellinger, and I'm really excited for that. I can imagine just as a competitor, he's like, man, I had this solid rookie year. It was a good rookie year.
I got my eye ripped out. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. And the crazy thing about his getting eye ripped out is that game, I actually thought he was going to be start to use as a receiver a little bit more, and then that kind of momentum was just stripped right from him. No pun intended, but
that was
his eye cut out, his eye
tough,
stripped out. That was tough. So I can imagine it was a little like, damn, they traded for this really good tight end that is clearly and obviously better than me and does make the offense better. But I can imagine just from a competitor standpoint, he's like, damn, that kind of sucks for me. But I do think Bellinger understands that, hey, in this offense being like the number 2 tight end, that's like an awesome role for Daniel Bellinger. It really is. And I think it's going to push him, clearly, possibly cause him to push some more weights and showed up like completely and utterly jacked, which is awesome. Clearly. So I think the relationship is going to be good. There's also they're such different players too. So they're going to be asked. To do 2 totally different things. So Bellinger is going to get playing time. Waller may come off the field and purely run situations. And that's when you're going to have Daniel Bellinger and Chris Myrick, if Myrick makes the team, in 12 personnel packages. And this is a running situation. They're going to be like your run blocking tight ends. Bellinger also was used last year as an H-back. Remember against the Colts and against the Vikings, there were some plays where he was lined up like a fullback and he caught 15 plus yard passes. And it's that's kind of awesome. The Giants don't really have a formal fullback on the roster anymore. So if you can use your tight end in that way, and then they're a threat to, catch the ball out of the backfield, and that's not what teams are thinking of, that's super awesome. And that was some of Daniel Bellinger's most explosive plays last year. But one of the my big kind of circling points that I'm looking out for early in camp is personnel grouping frequency and how Waller and Bellinger are used on the field at the same time. If they're used on the field at the same time, does one person come out for another if they come in? So that's something I'm going to be looking out for pretty early in camp in terms of how will they be used together, and what will their shared responsibilities be when they are out on the field together? Because that is quite an exciting concept to have Daniel Bellinger as a tight end 2, then Waller as a tight end 1. Right. Will you have plays where Waller is lined up as this X wide receiver, as a tight end? And then Bellinger will be with his hand in the dirt as your kind of conventional tight end. Yeah. So how they will use them, both of them, is pretty exciting to me. And I think it shouldn't be viewed as Bellinger taking a step down. It should be viewed as the offense is just getting more versatile and it's getting better.
No, absolutely not. And for a team that's been very thirsty for a solid tight end for a very
Hmm.
long time, I'm excited that we have this kind of dual threat right there. And I
Yeah.
think everything that you just outlined is something that we really need to lean into with the talent that we have. And I can't wait, honestly. All right, let's move into. I've got some questions, in regards just to Talking Giants, John Boy Media, things like that. So, in your role with Talking Giants, inside, John Boy Media, what is your favorite thing to do?
I talked about it a little bit before about the tailgates, but anytime we get to like interact with like our community, like that is my absolute favorite thing to do.
Mhm.
So like that watch party that we did at Mr. Purple for the
Yeah.
Viking game, like that's like a top day of my life. There's a video
Oh,
out there of, and I look back on it every once in a while. Somebody just followed me with with the camera, and they, I guess we included it like in a vlog somewhere of like just 2 minutes after the stream ended and after the game was over, and still the people that were hanging out. I just went and I hugged everyone. Just number one, like thank you for being there, but also like holy shit, the Giants just won a playoff game.
right.
um but I just going around and hugging everyone that was there. They chose to watch a Giants
Right.
playoff game. Probably travel from there was somebody that travels from Germany to that watch party in New York
Oh
City,
my God.
which is so crazy. So traveling to wherever they traveled from, in New York City, going to a place that they probably never have been to,
Right.
and we all watched the game. Like 200 of us, watched the game together at at that bar. So like we're gonna do more watch parties this year. We're gonna do two away game watch parties this year. One's gonna be against the Bills Sunday Night Football, and then another one is going to be against the Raiders, which is like a 4:30 game. So we're doing two of those
Mhm.
this year. Anytime we get to have like events like that, Fan Fest, our Fan Fest event
Yeah.
where we all get to come together. We have a live show and see everybody for the first time, since the regular season. That's my favorite stuff. Like
Yeah.
that we do, even like inside the office, outside the office, anytime we get to interact with our like people in our community, it's like my favorite thing.
Yeah, I love that answer because, it ties directly to the other question I had for you. Talkin' Giants has really grown rapidly over the last couple of years. Again, I'm one of the early followers of you guys. And, something that you do so well, and I mentioned it earlier with the tailgates, you really do interact with your audience just so well, no matter if you have 50,000 followers compared to like 5 followers. It's been you and Bobby for so long. You're the faces, you are with your audience constantly. So clearly it means a lot to you from what you just shared with me. But, just diving into it more, like, what is the importance of you guys continuously interacting, whether it's through social media, at live events, at the tailgates, anything like that? Like, what is that importance to you as you guys continue to grow to this day?
Ah, I mean, I don't know if I have like a definition of why it's important, just because it's fulfilling. Like that's the
Yeah,
thing that like fulfills me. Like getting, I think we all like affirmation.
of
And
course.
I will never shy away from saying like, yeah, like I kind of like I put out podcasts and I press publish on podcasts and videos, and or even if it's like a little tweet now and then, especially one that maybe I'll put a little bit more care into if it's a video or social media post. I like the affirmation. I like, oh, I like
Of
this.
course.
And when people say I like this and I
Yeah.
enjoy this, that makes me feel good. So it's not even like defining the importance, just because it is important. Like but just getting the affirmation back from people means the world. And experiencing the highs and lows of what this team does.
Right.
We've certainly have experienced the lows as the years have gone on, and I'm very proud of what we've been able to do, especially considering there have been way more years and times that the team has been bad than good. Like this
Of
past year,
course.
it finally was good.
Yeah.
And we obviously, we continue to grow from there. But the base of people, we all kind of got there by experiencing the team losing and experiencing, the latter part of Judge and Gettleman, and being
Right.
like the national embarrassment for a hot sec. So that's I don't know if that fully answers your question, but
Yeah.
yeah, that's where we're at.
No, it does. I mean, we're a community, like you said. There's
Yeah.
so many people that I've even met over the years. And it's my connection for being a Giants fan. Obviously, this podcast and other things I've done are more largely at a NFL level and
Yeah.
college football level. But being able to sit with you guys and sit down and talk and see you at games and to bitch and moan or celebrate on Twitter, celebrate this last season
Yeah.
on Twitter and
It's
like
not a
others.
word we're used to.
It's not. But it was nice. But we're always there. And I think again, like you guys have really built a nice foundation. And I'm very proud to see where you've come, but I'm also just so happy to see that you've stayed authentic in that as well. It's not like you bumped up to a bazillion followers overnight and you kind of lost where you were. Like it's been everything I see from you is what I've seen from day one.
No,
Now everyone fucking knows who you are, which is so nice to see. So I love that you shared that story too of, the show, the watch party, and just going up to everyone and giving them love because you had so many things to celebrate, people being there for you, but then also a nice little playoff win that I don't think anyone expected for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Definitely talking about some highlights here and being happy and ecstatic and everything like that. But a part of Third and Wine and a part of this episode is my favorite segment. It is called Wine It Out. Obviously, we are Third and Wine. Wine is involved. And Wine It Out is a play on literally whining, literally complaining. I give my guests week after week the opportunity to bitch, moan, complain, whine about anything that you want to. So Justin, here's the mic. I mean, you've had the mic the whole night, but here it is again to really complain.
I'm going to whine about how it sucks feeling unfulfilled. And like they're not like in
Please
not
explain
like
what you mean.
I don't mean like in life, like I'm feeling unfulfilled in life, but this time of the year sucks every single year because I'm talking about like Mr. Purple and our playoff event and our tailgate. And that's the stuff that really makes me feel whole and like completes me. But now it's like, especially after the draft, it's like, well, you don't get any of that. The NFL does such a good job of, for so many months of the year, you have stuff to talk about, you have stuff to do. And then when it's done, it's done unless somebody gets arrested, which happened. We've seen the last like 2 years ago, which was a bizarre summer, which was a pretty big launching point for Talking Giants. Actually, we covered the DeAndre Baker story very well.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did.
A little too well, some may say.
I brought up DeAndre Baker recently, and I was like, because I think it was like talking about like busts, and I was like, fucking DeAndre Baker, like allow me.
And we traded up for him too, which is even the crazier part.
Huge. And I think I brought it up on an episode, and someone was like, oh my God, I forgot about that. And I was like, are you kidding me?
But this time of the year, like it's nice that you get to take a breath, and it is like the final breath that you get before the season starts, and then basically from end of July and then August to January, and you hope February, you don't have a breath. You're not taking a breath. You don't have your weekends and stuff like that. So, but this time of the year, always, even going back to even before I was like fully employed with John Boy Media and stuff like that, I would always feel very anxious, like, oh, I'm not doing enough. I'm not publishing a really good tweet every single day. So I'm still like getting over like those feelings that I would have when I was a little bit younger, of like being like, I'm not fulfilled by like the content and the things that I'm doing right now, but I know I will be in August. But yeah, so that's my whine. I'm whining that Justin doesn't have enough to do right now. Even though stuff at John Boy Media is great, like we're doing a lot of the Blitzball stuff.
Do a lot, yeah.
I know a lot of the Blitzball stuff. I'm involved in a lot of what they do with the gaming channel. There are certain videos on part of their entertainment channel that I'm doing. I'm trying to launch like a radio show on right now. So there are certain things that, believe me, I'm not just sitting home vacationing, but I love football. I love Giants football. I want it to come back, and without it, I don't feel fully fulfilled in my life. So I would like I like time to somewhat hurry up, but not go too fast.
Yeah, I feel you. I'm happy that you clarified the unfulfilled thing because I think
Yeah.
some of the listeners are probably like, "Oh no, is he unfulfilled?
No,
Life,
I needed to
love, is he not
I needed to
loving?"
have a good opening line, and that's how I got people in.
I feel unfulfilled. I think that's what I'm going to clip for this, like to
Just
promote
only
this
clip
podcast.
that
Just
5 second. I feel unfulfilled.
unfulfilled, and that's going to be my
At
lead
Jumbo
in.
Media.
No, I love that.
I get called into the office tomorrow. You all right? Like,
Excuse me. We heard you on an external podcast and we're a little concerned about you. No, nothing to be concerned about because I am definitely in your boat there. We are in this time where it's like, and they're almost like teasing us now, like with OTAs and things that
yeah.
they're doing, like prior to, it's like the preseason that they're really teasing us right now. I know we spoke before the show and I had mentioned to you that just like in conversations with my boyfriend, like I'm football. I'm college football and NFL. Those are my sports. I'm in them 100%. Other sports I'll watch. Of course I will, but I don't have a team. I'm just whatever. He's diehard for everything. And he admits constantly, no other franchise, no one gives you what the NFL gives you
Right.
week after week. You could be a basketball fan. You could be a baseball fan. It's just you're watching a sport. They don't give you the entertainment that you need every week for a couple of months. The NFL is the only organization that delivers. And I
Yeah,
listen,
for sure.
I'm not a fan of other sports, but I can feel it that we are the only one that's really given it. So, all right. Well, Justin, it was an absolute pleasure talking to you tonight. I love that you brought up in the beginning. It's just friends sitting down and talking because clearly this is what this is. We just like to say, hey, let's get on a pod and let's get live and talking. But I will see you soon. I probably will see you at camp. I probably will see you during the season as well. I mean, camp is a maybe. I will definitely see you during the season. But before we sign off for this episode, please let my audience know where they can follow you, where they can follow Talkin' Giants.
Yeah, at Talking Giants, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, podcast apps, Spotify, all that fun stuff. Check out, JM Football too. Subscribe and keep it up because there's certain videos that I'm kind of working on that are very different from podcasts, and they're not short form, but they're not long form. I have some ideas that I'm trying to work on that are like some video essay stuff. So keep an eye out for that. Check out the warehouse games that we're doing at John Boy Media.
I've
If you'd
seen
like,
them. They're funny.
I'm about to be part of like my first major tournament, which is called the Ball and Play League. It's John Boy Media personalities plus professional cricket players, and
I love that.
we basically made up a game where it's a combination between baseball and cricket, and we played it in our warehouse, and I'm part of that tournament. So why I think the games premiere a couple times a week. They start on a Sunday coming up. So check out the warehouse games and say that you want more Penik, you want more Justin Penik and stuff. That'll certainly mean a lot.
You heard it here first, people. We want more Penik. I obviously want more Penik. I will get you back on Third and Wine in the future. We will obviously connect once the season starts. But Justin, as always, thank you for your support and thank you for coming on Third and Wine.
Thank you.
Of course. And thank you, everyone. I will catch you on the next episode.